I woke up to the sound of metal scraping against wood. It came from the hallway, slow, deliberate, like someone trying to open a door that was never meant to open. My heart started to race before my eyes even opened. I knew that sound. It was the sound of the basement door unlocking itself again. The lock clicked. Once, twice, then silence. I sat up in bed, my eyes fixed on the dark doorway across the apartment. I could barely see the outline of the door handle from where I was, but I didn't need to. I could feel it. The heavy air, the faint smell of cold earth seeping from under the door. It always started like this. I whispered to myself, "It's locked." I locked it. But deep down, I already knew what I was going to see when I stood up. The door was open. Just an inch this time. That was all it ever opened. Just enough for a sliver of darkness to peek through, like it was waiting for me to come closer. I took a step forward, clutching the baseball bat I kept beside my bed, my hand shaking. I pressed my ear to the door. There was no sound. Just the quiet hum of the refrigerator in the next room and the faint buzz of city traffic outside. And then, 3 slow knocks from the other side. I stumbled back, almost dropping the bat. The knocks were heavy, hollow, as if someone, or something, was deep down below the floorboards. But that made no sense. My lease said there was no basement. I had checked the blueprints myself. There wasn't supposed to be anything under this building except concrete and soil. That's when a voice whispered from the other side. "Can I come up now?" I froze. It wasn't loud. It wasn't even angry. It was soft, like the voice of a little boy. The door creaked open another inch, the lock hanging useless. Cold air washed over my bare feet, and for a second, I thought I could smell damp dirt and something else, old metal, maybe blood. I reached out with the bat, nudging the door shut. It clicked into place, but I knew it wouldn't hold for long. It never did. That was the night I realized the problem wasn't the door. It was whatever was behind it. When I first moved to New York, I thought I'd gotten lucky. A cheap apartment in Manhattan? That's unheard of. The landlord, Mr. Feldman, was an older man, maybe in his late 60s. He showed me the place with a half smile and a handful of keys. "It's a bit old," he warned. "Some doors stick, the pipes rattle, but it's home." He wasn't kidding about old. The building looked like it hadn't been touched since the 1940s. Long hallways lined with flickering lights, peeling wallpaper that smelled faintly of dust and smoke, and floors that groaned under every step. My unit, 2B, was small but cozy enough. A living room, a tiny kitchen, 1 bedroom, and a storage closet near the back. At least, that's what I thought it was. The first time I noticed the door was 2 weeks after moving in. I was unpacking books when I saw a faint line in the paint behind a stack of boxes, like the outline of a door. When I looked closer, I saw an old doorknob covered in rust. I tugged at it, but it wouldn't budge. I figured it was some sealed maintenance hatch and didn't think much about it. Then one morning, I woke up and found it slightly open. At first, I thought maybe maintenance had come in without telling me. But when I asked Mr. Feldman, he looked confused. "A basement door?" he repeated. "There is no basement in that unit. Only 4 floors and a crawl space. Are you sure it's not a closet?" I laughed it off. Maybe he was right. Maybe it was just a closet that got sealed years ago. But the more I looked at it, the less sense it made. There was no visible gap under the door. No light, no vent, nothing. Yet sometimes, at night, I'd hear faint sounds coming from behind it. A soft scratching, like nails on wood. The next week, things got stranger. One morning, I came home from work to find the door wide open. I stood there for a full minute, staring at the gaping black space beyond it. It wasn't a closet. It was a staircase, narrow and steep, descending into total darkness. The air coming from below was freezing cold, carrying the smell of earth and mildew. I leaned in slightly, holding my phone out with the flashlight on. The light didn't reach the bottom. It just disappeared into black. "Hello," I called. My voice echoed faintly, as if the space was much bigger than it looked. Then something shifted in the dark. A faint scuffling sound, followed by a whisper so quiet I could barely make it out. "Down here." My chest tightened. I slammed the door shut and pushed a chair against it. That night, I couldn't sleep. Every hour or so, I'd hear a faint creak from the hallway, followed by what sounded like footsteps, light, hesitant, moving just behind the door. The next morning, I nailed it shut. For a few days, everything was quiet. The air felt lighter. I even started to convince myself that it was just in my head. Maybe I'd been stressed from moving and working long hours. I told myself I'd imagine the voices, the cold, the footsteps. Then on Thursday night, I woke to the sound of nails on wood again. Slow, scratching, dragging. I turned on the lamp and stared at the door. My stomach dropped. The nails I'd hammered into the frame were lying on the floor. The door stood slightly open. Not wide, just enough for a sliver of dark to peek through. I grabbed my phone and called Mr. Feldman again, this time demanding answers. "Someone keeps opening that door," I said. "You told me there's no basement, but there is. I've seen the stairs." There was silence on the other end. Then he sighed. "I shouldn't have rented that unit," he said quietly. "It was supposed to stay sealed. Whatever you do, don't go down there. If it opens again, call me. Immediately." "Why?" I asked, but he'd already hung up. That night, I sat in the living room with all the lights on, staring at the door. I placed a chair under the knob, stacked a few boxes in front of it, and waited. Midnight came and went. Nothing happened. Then at 2:13 a.m., the light in the living room flickered. Once, twice. The air turned cold. The boxes slid aside. The chair toppled over with a soft thud, and the door slowly, silently, swung open on its own. For a long time, I just stared. There was no wind, no draft, nothing that could explain it. I should have called Mr. Feldman. I should have called anyone, but curiosity got the better of me. I stepped forward, one hand on the wall, and leaned just enough to see down the stairs. Something was standing at the bottom. It wasn't clear at first, just a shadow in the dark. But then it moved. Slowly, deliberately. One step at a time, it started climbing upward. I couldn't breathe. My legs wouldn't move. When it reached the halfway point, I realized something horrible. It was moving, but I couldn't hear footsteps. Just the soft creak of wood under invisible weight. Then, for the first time, I saw its face. It looked like me. My own face, pale and lifeless, staring up from the darkness. It smiled and whispered, "I told you not to lock me in." I slammed the door shut, threw the lock, and backed away until my shoulders hit the wall. My heart pounded so hard it felt like it would burst. The door rattled once, twice, then went still. I didn't sleep that night. When morning came, I packed a bag and left the apartment. I told myself I wouldn't come back. But by sunset, I was sitting in my car outside the building again, staring up at the windows of 2B. My keys felt heavy in my hand. I needed to know what was behind that door. And that's when I saw it. From the street, through my living room window, the basement door was open. Something was standing in the doorway, watching me. I stood frozen on the sidewalk, staring up at my own window. The curtains were drawn back, and behind the glass, I saw myself standing there, motionless. He wasn't a reflection. I wasn't even near the window. But his face, my face, looked pale and still, like a photo left too long in the sun. Then he smiled. It wasn't the kind of smile you give when you're happy. It was slow, deliberate, like he was testing how to move my mouth. I blinked, and he was gone. The curtain fell back into place. My heart pounded so hard I could hear it echoing in my ears. I told myself it was exhaustion, that I was seeing things, but deep down I knew the truth. Whatever had come from behind that basement door was now inside my apartment, and it was pretending to be me. I didn't go back upstairs right away. I called Mr. Feldman again. This time, he didn't answer. His voicemail came on, and I almost hung up, but then I heard it. Breathing. Faint, raspy breathing on the other end. I froze. "Mr. Feldman?" I whispered. The breathing grew louder, then a low voice said, "You should have left when it was still just knocking." The line went dead. I didn't wait any longer. I rushed back up the stairs to my apartment, fumbled the key, and forced the door open. Everything looked normal at first glance. The furniture was untouched. The lights were still on. But then I noticed the smell. That same cold, earthy scent that had poured from the basement door was now everywhere. My stomach twisted as I stepped further in. The air felt heavy, like it was pressing against me. Then, I heard humming coming from the kitchen. It was a tune I knew well, because it was mine. I used to hum it when I cooked or cleaned. I followed the sound slowly, every muscle in my body tense. The kitchen light flickered, and there, standing by the sink, was me. He was humming softly, facing the window, wearing my shirt, my jeans, my shoes. His hair was wet, dripping something dark onto the floor. For a second, I thought it was water, until I saw the red streaks. He turned his head, not all the way, just enough for me to see his grin stretch too wide, like his face was made of something that didn't fit right. "Why'd you lock me down there?" he asked, his voice low but calm. "You knew I'd find a way out." I stumbled back, knocking over a chair. "You're not real," I whispered. "You're not me." He laughed softly. "Not yet." Before I could move, he lunged forward. I ran. I didn't look back. I bolted through the living room and slammed the front door behind me. My hands shook as I reached for my phone, but when I looked down, it was gone. I must have dropped it inside. My heart pounded as I ran down the stairs and out into the street again. I didn't stop until I reached the corner store. The old man behind the counter looked up in surprise. "Kid, you look like you've seen a ghost," he said. I tried to catch my breath. "There's something in my apartment. It looks like me. Please, call the police." He frowned, then grabbed the phone and dialed. But before he could speak, his eyes went wide. "Your landlord, Mr. Feldman?" he said. "They said he died last night. Heart attack." The words hit me like a punch. I backed away slowly. If Mr. Feldman was dead, who had answered the phone? That night, I stayed at a friend's place across town. I didn't sleep. Every sound made me jump. At 3:17 a.m., my phone started ringing. No name, just my number on the screen, my own number calling me. I stared at it until it stopped. When I checked my voicemail, there was a single new message. Static filled the background, then I heard my voice. My real voice. "It's okay," it said softly. "You can come home now." He's gone. But I hadn't left that message. By morning, I convinced myself it was some cruel prank, maybe a hacker, maybe my mind playing tricks. But I couldn't leave it alone. I had to see it with my own eyes, to make sure that thing, whatever it was, wasn't still there. When I got back to the apartment building, the hallway felt different. The air was colder, the lights dimmer. My hand shook as I turned the knob to my door. It was unlocked. Inside, everything was exactly how I left it, except for one thing. The basement door stood wide open. The nails I had hammered in were lying neatly in a pile beside it, as if someone had carefully removed them. I heard movement from below, slow footsteps climbing upward. This time, I didn't run. I grabbed the flashlight from the counter, aimed it down the steps, and whispered, "Who are you?" No answer. Just another step. Then a whisper drifted up, my own voice again. "You left me here." The flashlight flickered. I caught a glimpse of something at the bottom of the stairs. Pale skin, long fingers gripping the railing. It smiled up at me, and for the first time, I realized it wasn't exactly my face anymore. It had changed. The features were wrong, twisted like melted wax trying to hold a shape. "You're not supposed to exist," I said, backing away. It tilted its head. "Neither are you." And then it started climbing faster. I slammed the door shut and pressed my back against it, holding it with all my weight. The doorknob twisted violently, shaking the frame. I screamed, pushing harder, until suddenly it stopped. Silence. Not a single sound. I stood there for what felt like hours. Finally, I eased away, listening. Nothing. When I turned to grab my bag, the sound returned, 3 slow knocks from the other side of the door. Then a whisper right behind me. "You locked the wrong one out." I spun around, and standing in the middle of my living room was me again, smiling.